In just a few hours, President Trump will swear in Todd Blanche as the Attorney General of the United States. The Senate confirmed acting AG Todd Blanche early Saturday morning by just one vote. The deciding vote came from Louisiana Republican Bill Cassidy, who announced his vote to the entire Senate on Friday. Cassidy told Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation that in the end, he was partially persuaded by the reversal of the DOJ Anti-weaponization Fund.
If you're looking for a black or white decision here, you're not going to find it. This is a gradation of gray. But what I'm told as regards the Anti-weaponization Fund, if you put it in the context of the political environment, the judicial environment, the process you would have to go back through in order to reinstate, that effectively it's dead.
CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion joins us from Capitol Hill. So, Nikole, the question that everybody has is, yes, the Attorney General, has stipulated that the Anti-weaponization Fund is dead in the water. The question is, could it come back in another form, with other language? And what would be the reaction from lawmakers if that were to happen?
Well, I think, we're talking about hypotheticals here, and that was really in large part the crux of the debate over Todd Blanche's confirmation and whether he could potentially be confirmed for that very reason. Many lawmakers were concerned about whether or not that anti-weaponization fund, which would compensate victims who feel that they were politically wronged or persecuted, including some of those January 6 rioters who attacked the Capitol, whether or not those people could receive payouts. And so, many Republican lawmakers wanted guarantees from Todd Blanche that that would not be the case. So at the outset, of course, a pair of GOP holdouts, North Carolina Senator Thom Tillis and Texas Republican John Cornyn, they wanted a guarantee in writing from Blanche, and, it took a lot of back and forth and negotiating and meetings until finally they were able to get something in writing from Todd Blanche and the DOJ, in effect, stating that this fund would, in effect, be dead, and also, of course, limiting the scope of the president's tax immunity deal. So those were chief concerns. Once they got that in writing, then they came on board. But then you had other Republican senators like Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who said, look, we're not going to support Todd Blanche's nomination because we remain concerned about this fund. Murkowski, in particular, pointed out on her X post on Friday that she wasn't really sure once Todd Blanche was confirmed, if he was confirmed, whether or not that fund could come back. And then that brings us to Bill Cassidy, of course, who told me a couple of weeks ago he remained concerned about this issue of so-called lawfare, people being unfairly targeted by the Justice Department. So for a long time, that was one of his chief concerns, and why he, too, had numerous meetings with the acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. But ultimately, as you heard him tell our Margaret Brennan, he landed on a place of yes once he felt that that deal reached with Senators Tillis and Cornyn. He felt that was sufficient. He talked to Cornyn about it and said that eased his concerns. At the same time, though, he expressed some concerns about that tax immunity deal that the president got, telling our Margaret Brennan he thought it was wrong. So that's why he said, there's no black or white decision for him, that it was these shades of gray, because he really wrestled with this almost up until the final minute. Take a listen to more of what he told Margaret Brennan this weekend. Okay. Guess we don't have that sound there, but obviously, that was in essence what he told her, just that he really struggled with the decision, is something he reiterated on the Senate floor, even getting choked up over his announcement to back Todd Blanche.
That's right. We were all watching that together, Nikole, you in Washington and so many people in Congress and us up here as he was delivering his decision. And he did lay out those pros and cons. When he started with the cons, we knew he's going to vote for
100%.
For Blanche. But what has been the reaction so far in D.C.? Because this has really been fraught.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't come as a surprise that the reaction is along party lines. I mean, you could see it in the vote itself, 50-49. Bill Cassidy, that's how instrumental he was, because he was that 50th vote. So literally, this was a very narrow vote that got Todd Blanche over. Otherwise, his prospects could have very well gone the other direction. So, of course, you have many Republicans and certainly the White House offering a lot of congratulatory praise for Todd Blanche. In fact, Todd Todd Blanche himself, not long after the vote, which happened somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m. in the morning on Saturday, thanked the Senate for staying up late to confirm him. The White House and J.D. Vance, vice president, called him a dedicated public servant. But on the flip side, of course, you have Democrats who still see Todd Blanche as the president's former personal attorney, that he's not necessarily going to change his focus when he becomes the attorney general.